Thank you to the members of the North Adams community who are watching this year's State of the City address on Northern Berkshire Community Television, as well as those of you viewing it on Facebook. It's good to be with you, even in this virtual format. When I spoke to you about the state of the City of North Adams last year, it was from the City Council chambers in remarks delivered as part of my 2020 inaugural address. What a difference a year makes. Last year, the idea that so many of us would have learned new ways of working and would be using different methods to communicate with the community would have seemed nearly unimaginable. This has been our shared reality. And like every change, it has its share of pluses and minuses. Most of us have gained experience with Zoom and online meetings and other tools that help us to stay in contact safely. At the same time, we recognize that on-screen connections are no substitute for the conversations and bridge building that happen when we gather in person. As I reflect on the year just past and on the years ahead for North Adams, I am filled with immense gratitude for the countless people in our city who have demonstrated the powerful truth of Dr. King's statement that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. Our frontline workers in the DPW, fire and police departments, and EMS, and our North Adams Public Schools educators and staff have shown their greatness day in and day out throughout this past year. By doing so in the face of a pandemic, each of them has redefined our understanding of what it means to be a hero. This is equally true of healthcare workers, service employees, early childhood professionals, and human service providers, and of the parents and caregivers who have been partners in education. And I especially want to thank those in the school district and on the home front who have supported and guided our youngest learners, and those who have nurtured students who struggle with social and emotional learning challenges. I also want to acknowledge my partners in service and governance from the North Adams City Council and the North Adams School Committee. I thank them for their care and attention on behalf of our constituents. This has been a year of incredible challenges and few, if any, easy answers. Together, we have responded to a crisis that has created unprecedented economic, educational, and human service needs, along with very real and ongoing public health risks. I appreciate my colleagues for their dedication, integrity, and thoughtful care for our community as we have reckoned and wrestled with serious issues and done our best to care for and to serve the people of the city of North Adams. We talk a lot about collaboration in North Adams and in the Berkshires. This year has demonstrated once again that we do it better than anyone, anywhere in Massachusetts. Our responses to our COVID year have been rooted in a long-standing tradition of collaboration and cooperation. The Northern Berkshires have worked and acted in an intentionally coordinated way since our pandemic response began. The Northern Berkshire Regional Emergency Planning Committee took on a new role, establishing a regional COVID-19 operations center that united 8 communities and the 2 college campuses in our region in shared purpose. We anchored our local, county, regional, and statewide response in a tried, true, and trusted emergency response model. The effectiveness of our COVID-19 response rests in large part on the work of this team. It is no accident that as the vaccination rollout has gotten underway throughout Massachusetts, the governor and other state officials have acknowledged and highlighted the great work taking place in the Berkshires. More importantly, I have heard from several people who have received their vaccination at our local clinic, which is part of our Berkshire County Regional Vaccination Center. You have told me about the efficiency of your vaccination appointment, and more importantly about the professionalism, caring, and kindness of the vaccination team. This is important work, and we're doing it with the empathy and compassion that is a hallmark of North Adams and the Northern Berkshires. Finally, I am so profoundly thankful to you, the people of our great city of North Adams. I appreciate everyone who has adapted to new requirements regarding face coverings and social distancing. I'm grateful to all of you who have endured months of cliches from leaders like me, who have encouraged you to dig deep, hang in there, look out for each other, and of course, to wear a mask. Through it all, you have struggled and sacrificed. People have lost jobs. Business owners have faced losses and uncertainty due to COVID-19 restrictions. Some businesses have closed. Others struggle to adapt to ever-shifting state guidelines and to navigate complex and contradictory rules in order to access financial assistance and other resources. I know that can feel overwhelming. I also know that students and educators have been frustrated by the limitations of online learning. I know that so many of us miss things like sitting down to a meal with friends, visiting older relatives, or connecting with our faith communities. I know that most, if not all of us, have experienced moments of fear, isolation, and uncertainty. I know that for too long, too many of our colleagues, family, friends, and neighbors have endured violence in their homes, lived with substance use or misuse, struggled with mental health issues, and experienced hunger and housing insecurity. I know that these challenges persist in North Adams as they do everywhere, and that this past year has highlighted and amplified the needs of the most vulnerable among us. That's why I am so proud to be part of a community where people rise to the occasion and reach out a helping hand whenever they can. Amid public health challenges and personal struggles, I heard from so many people who gave their best and asked questions like, "What do you need and how can I help?" It's important that we all remember and celebrate that spirit. On a personal note, I want to thank you all for your support, friendship, trust, and yes, even for your tough feedback. As I said, there have been few easy answers this past year, and your concerns, perspectives, questions, and suggestions have been invaluable. My team and I have listened and considered your perspectives, even when you may not have agreed with every decision we made. Believe me, I am as eager as anyone to get back to normal, but we still have work to do. We still have to remain vigilant, especially now that the vaccine rollout is underway. We still need to practice social distancing, limit gatherings, and wear masks. The challenges we face in 2020 remain, but just as we made progress last year, we will continue to do so throughout 2021 by moving forward together. Now, before I say more about the challenges we experienced and the progress we made in 2020, I'd like to take a few moments to talk about some urgent matters that I know are on many people's minds. Over the past several weeks, we have confronted some difficult realities about our infrastructure in the city of North Adams. We all agree that the safety of our community and those who protect and serve us every day is of paramount importance. We agree that North Adams residents expect and deserve a high level of responsible, responsive, equitable, and sustainable public services. In working to meet that expectation, we have, for too long, focused too much on cost control and not enough on service delivery and infrastructure investment. We have asked dedicated city employees to do more with less. As a result, important work has been left undone. We saw that earlier this month when North Adams' bravest and finest responded to fires on Greylock Avenue and Vesey Street, and in this morning's response to a fire on Walker Street. We all are concerned about the loss of property. We're proud of our first responders, and we're grateful that there were no injuries. But these fires highlighted an urgent call to action for me and for our community. As mayor, I take seriously these incredibly important issues of safety and security. I recognize that we need to take short, medium, and long-term action to correct the deferred maintenance problem with our fire hydrant system. Last weekend, I brought together key staff, including public safety and public services leadership, to start this work. We will identify and bag inoperative fire hydrants and update our records to ensure we all understand the scope of the problem we face. We are actively exploring the USDA Rural Communities Program for funding a hydrant replacement program. And additionally, through this year's budget process, we will present options for staffing and funding our water department at the level necessary to meet this critical need. We know that our first responders operate out of a building with significant maintenance and accessibility issues. We agree that we need a new public safety building. We have applied for local technical assistance funding to help us conduct preliminary assessments of potential sites for a new building, including the potential of the juvenile court building on Center Street as the site for a police station. We will use this information to advocate for the release of the $1.2 million in state funding authorized in the 2018 capital bond bill for engineering, design, and siting of a new public safety facility in the city of North Adams. As mayor, I am responsible and accountable for moving forward on these priorities. The fire hydrant system and the public safety building are parts of a much larger, interlocking, and interdependent series of challenges that are a call to action for the work on which we all must focus, acting to address the long-term financial sustainability of the city of North Adams. We need to update and consistently manage our capital improvement plan. That is the most critical step in moving forward. We need to focus our efforts on maintaining key assets. We need to continue moving city-owned properties into the hands of people with the capacity, resources, and vision to develop them for productive use. We need to look critically at how we build our budget. Finally, we must do all of this in the face of urgent needs and economic recovery and the reality of our tax levy ceiling. Much of this work will be carried out through this year's budget process. More of it than ever will require coordinated advocacy at the local, state, and federal levels. All of it is work that we must approach differently, more transparently, and more collaboratively, both between city leadership, including city administration and the city council, and among all of us in partnership with city residents. The challenges we face have been years and decades in the making. We won't solve all of them in 2021. Working together, however, I know we will make progress and set an agenda to get us back on track this year and in the years to come. And as I mentioned, this work will take place side by side with the pandemic response that has been central to all of our work for the past year. Like many of you, I started 2020 with big goals and an ambitious agenda. I was eager to tackle community and economic development projects aligned with our Vision 2030 plan. I looked forward to advancing projects rooted in regional collaboration, including our bike path, and expanding opportunities for collaboration in our K-12 education system. Most of all, I wanted to dive headfirst into the important and complex work of ensuring the financial sustainability of our city. My team held a deep discussion at our late February staff meeting about what the coronavirus, that came to be known as COVID-19, could mean for North Adams and how we would respond. 2 weeks later, the superintendent and I announced we would be closing the North Adams Public Schools for 2 weeks, a move we made in lockstep with school districts across Berkshire County and ahead of the governor's statewide school closure order. When we made the decision to close schools on Friday, March 13th, few of us could have imagined that was the end of in-person learning for the school year. From the start, I insisted on 2 things. First, that no student go hungry. Since our initial school closure, the school district's food services team has served over 200,000 meals, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and both weekend and weekday grab-and-go meals. Second, I insisted that we provide students with the tools they need to have equitable access to online learning and to stay connected to their classmates and teachers. Since March, the school district IT team has invested in technology and distributed over 1,200 devices, including laptops, Chromebooks, and iPads, and more than 130 hotspot devices to ensure internet connectivity. The school district leadership team provided staff with thousands of hours of professional development on topics related to online learning, social emotional support, curriculum and instruction, and pandemic response. They also offered hundreds of hours of parent, family, and caregiver engagement to make sure that remote and hybrid learning happens as smoothly as possible. The day we closed the schools, I also declared a state of emergency in the city. Since then, our shared response to the pandemic and to the ever-evolving and often confusing and contradictory state guidance has dominated and overshadowed the rest of our work. It also provided additional opportunities to collaborate, especially with human service partners throughout the city and the Northern Berkshire region. From the start, our Northern Berkshire COVID-19 Operations Center included community liaisons who fielded hundreds of offers from people looking for ways to help and helped connect people to the services available to those in need. The Berkshire Food Project, the Al Nelson Friendship Center Food Pantry, and the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts have adapted to the realities of the pandemic and provided meals and food security to help meet one of life's most basic needs. Lewison House, Berkshire Helping Hands, ServiceNet, and the State Department of Housing and Community Development are providing shelter beds for unhoused individuals and families. The Elizabeth Freeman Center continues to provide services and support to survivors and victims of domestic and sexual violence. It's no exaggeration to say these agencies and countless others helped hold North Adams together over this past year. Adding to these cascading public health and human service challenges, many of which fall disproportionately on Black and brown people in our community and elsewhere, North Adams also has been part of an overdue national reckoning with the legacy of racism and white supremacy. This is work that started before the pandemic arrived in North Adams, but which took on new urgency with the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. I thank everyone who protested, marched, and organized for justice, and who continue to confront disproportionality, the legacy of inequity, economic oppression, and the divisions that exist among us. I especially want to acknowledge the work of the City Council and the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Working Group for their leadership and partnership in this important and ongoing work. As we think, talk, and act to make progress and to build a strong community, equity must be at the foundation of everything we do. Despite a challenging year and the difficult work ahead, it is important to highlight some of the progress we made in 2020. This is work that sets the stage for what we will do together in 2021 and in the years ahead. While COVID-19 took its toll on the local business landscape, new businesses have opened, from the break room at Greylock Works, to the Immersion Gaming Center on State Road, to the soon-to-open Clear Sky Cannabis Dispensary. These businesses bring commercial activity and much-needed tax revenue to the city, and are a sign of confidence in North Adams. With new funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program, we established an innovative micro-enterprise loan program. Through this stimulus effort, we have been awarding forgivable loans of up to $10,000 to small businesses. The goal of this program and these awards is to help small businesses cover losses related to COVID-19 restrictions. Last year, the city received a $75,000 grant from the state's Urban Agenda program to develop plans for improving pedestrian and bicycle connections between the downtown business district and adjoining residential neighborhoods along the Ashland, Church, and River Street corridors. Making it easier for people to get downtown will be an additional boon for our short and long-term economic and social recovery. Despite the gathering restrictions related to the pandemic, we ensured our work on this Urban Agenda program included the opportunity for public input. We held several public meetings via Zoom, followed by an outdoor, physically distanced open house that enabled residents to review this work, offer suggestions, and help set the direction for future projects. To tackle blight in our neighborhoods, we held an outdoor, socially distanced auction of tax-deficient properties held by the city. Through this innovative adaptation to the pandemic conditions, we sold 8 properties and added over $125,000 to our sale of land account. Based on the success of this effort, we will be going out with a larger auction this spring to remove more of these parcels as liabilities on the city's books and get them back onto the tax rolls. We also received funding from the Attorney General's Strategic Demolition Fund to raise a derelict property on Union Street. The City Council declared the parcel as surplus. We put it out to bid and we received full asking price for the property. When we complete this sale, another blighted property will be returned to the tax rolls and improved by the new owner. On the large scale, we also took steps to transfer 2 city-owned properties into private hands for redevelopment. In December, we closed the sale of Johnson School and expect to close on the sale of Notre Dame Church and School later this spring. Both properties will take on new life, providing high-quality housing close to downtown. A comprehensive housing study conducted last year found that, and I quote, "North Adams lacks a supply of adequate and affordable housing across a broad range of income levels." The recent discussion regarding the Sullivan School property demonstrated that it can be challenging to boil down terms like adequate and affordable housing to concise, soundbite definitions. I also regret that important questions and legitimate concerns about a particular project inspired rhetoric that reminds us how fragile our commitment to being an inclusive community can sometimes seem. A related issue is our work on smart growth zoning, which we have been discussing in public meetings throughout the past year. While this program is easily misunderstood, one clear benefit of smart growth zoning is that it provides financial incentives to the city that can be used to support infrastructure improvements. While new housing in smart growth zoning districts must include a minimum of 20% affordable housing units, it does not change existing zoning or create or require more subsidized housing. Smart growth zoning, if ultimately enacted by the City Council, could help us fulfill our housing needs at the affordable and market rate levels. A common and undeniable theme throughout this work is the dedication, professionalism, and collaboration of city staff. The projects I mentioned, and others, have been high quality, mission-driven, and aligned with the priorities in the North Adams Vision 2030 plan. This work has involved the treasurer's and assessor's offices, inspection services, and the Office of Community Development, among other departments. Other wins focused on outdoor recreation. The Office of Community Development oversaw completion of the improvements to Brayton Park and submitted a successful application to the Mohawk Trail Woodlands Partnership Program to map and market hiking trails in the city. These efforts remind us of the resources North Adams residents can enjoy and will help to promote the city to an audience who may not think of North Adams as a place to get off the beaten path. We also took steps to seize greater control of our economic destiny. I'm proud of the collaborative work to secure $2.4 million from the state's MassWorks infrastructure program to support the redevelopment of Blackenton Mill. The project will address long-standing drainage and water flow problems on the mill property, as well as related stormwater issues that affect the entire Blackenton neighborhood. The investment of public funds to support these infrastructure improvements, secured through a collaboration among the team in the Office of Community Development, our legislative delegation, and the private sector, and supported by the Commonwealth's Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development and the Baker-Polito administration, is a necessary first step in the overall redevelopment of the mill property. Despite the challenges ahead, we continue to make progress moving our city forward. I am immensely optimistic about the city of North Adams and our future. This year has tested us, but the resilience, and yes, the stubbornness of our community remains one of our most valuable assets. That resilience will ensure we come back stronger and better from COVID-19, from business and school closures, and from the hard work of planning for a sustainable, equitable future. 2021 will be a challenging year. We can't ever lose sight of the issues we must face together, or of the deep, persistent needs of our most vulnerable friends and neighbors. As we recover from our public health, economic, education, human service, and equity crises, and as more of our community gets vaccinated, many of us will want to race back to the routines and activities we have been missing. I share your enthusiasm, but I ask everyone in North Adams to balance this excitement with empathy for those in our community who need time and space to mourn and to wrestle with the loss and struggle they experienced this past year. We have a good story to tell in and about North Adams. Part of that story involves the spirit and the care we share with one another. The pandemic has demonstrated that people are searching for the quality of life and the opportunities North Adams and the Berkshires have to offer. I'm convinced that demand will only grow, as will our shared need to be responsible stewards of continuity, change, and inclusion. Thank you. May God bless you and our beloved city of North Adams.